Section 6. Vulnerable road users. Which sign means that there may be people walking along the road. And it is the red triangle with the adult and child. You're turning left at a junction where pedestrians have started to cross. What should you do? So this is accompanied by a photograph. It's just pedestrians walking across the road. And the answer is give way to them. You're turning left into a side road. What hazard should you be especially aware of? And again, pedestrians. You intend to turn right into a side road. Why should you check for motorcyclists just before turning? They may be overtaking on your right. Why is a toucan crossing different from other crossings? Cyclists can use it, and I just remember it by toucan. How will a school crossing patrol signal you to stop? By displaying a stop sign. Where would you see this sign? And it's a school bus sign, so the answer is on the rear of a school bus or coach. Yellow square with children in it. What does this sign mean? A blue circle with pedestrians underneath and cyclists on top. A cycle on top. A route for pedestrians and cyclists. You see a pedestrian carrying a white stick with a red band. What does this tell you? They're deaf and blind. What action would you take when elderly people are crossing the road? And this question is accompanied by the red triangle sign with the elderly inside it. Be patient and allow them to cross in their own time. What should you do when you see two elderly pedestrians about to cross the road ahead? Be careful, they may misjudge your speed. You're coming up to a roundabout. A cyclist is signalling to turn right. What should you do? Give the cyclist plenty of room. Which of these should you allow extra room when overtaking? And the answer is bicycle. Why should you look particularly for motorcyclists and cyclists at junctions? They're harder to see. You're waiting to come out of a side road. Why should you look carefully for motorcycles? Motorcycles can easily be hidden behind obstructions. In daylight, an approaching motorcyclist is using dipped headlights. Why? So that the rider can be seen more easily. Why should motorcyclists wear bright clothing? Because drivers often do not see them. You're unsure what a slow-moving motorcyclist ahead of you is going to do. What should you do? Stay behind. Why will a motorcyclist look round over their right shoulder just before turning right? To check for traffic in their blind area. Which is the most vulnerable road user at road junctions? Motorcyclist. You're approaching a roundabout. There are horses just ahead of you. What should you do? Give them plenty of room. As you approach a Pelican Crossing, the lights change to green. What should you do if elderly people are halfway across? Obviously, wait patiently because they'll probably take longer to cross. There are flashing amber lights under a school warning sign. What action should you take? Reduce speed until you're clear of the area. Why must these road markings be kept clear? And it's the school keep clear sign on the road in yellow with the stripy bits at either side. And it's to allow a clear view of the crossing area. Where would you see this sign? Yet again, it's the school bus sign, so it's on a school bus. You're following two cyclists. They approach a roundabout in the left-hand lane. In which direction should you expect the cyclist to go? Any direction. You're travelling behind a moped. What should you do when you want to turn left just ahead? Stay behind until the moped has passed the junction. You see a horse rider as you approach a roundabout. What should you do if they're signalling right but keeping well to the left? Stay well back. How would you react to drivers who appear to be inexperienced? Be patient and prepare for them to react more slowly. What should you do when you're following a learner driver who stalls at a junction? Be patient as you expect them to make mistakes. You're on a country road. What should you expect to see coming towards you on your side of the road? Pedestrians. What should you do when following a car driven by an elderly driver? Be aware that their reactions may be slower than yours. You're following a cyclist. What should you do when you wish to turn left just ahead? Hold back until the cyclist has passed the junction. And as we've said before, this goes for the entire book. It keeps mentioning cyclists because this is the leading cause of death in cyclists when drivers turn in front of them and take them out. A horse rider is in the left-hand lane approaching a roundabout. Where should you expect the rider to go? In any direction. Powered vehicles used by disabled people are small and hard to see. How do they give early warning when on a dual carriageway? They'll have a flashing amber light. Where would you never overtake a cyclist? Just before you turn left. What does a flashing amber beacon mean when it's on a moving vehicle? The vehicle is slow moving. What does this sign mean? It's the longer horizontal blue square sign with a bicycle on the left and then a white stripe to the right of it. It means with flow cycle lane. You notice horse riders in front. What should you do first? Slow down and be ready to stop. What's the purpose of these road markings? The same ones again that we saw earlier, saying school keep clear, and it's to ensure children can see and be seen when crossing the road. The left-hand pavement is closed due to street repairs. What should you do? Watch out for pedestrians walking in the road. What should you do when you're following a motorcyclist along a road that has a poor surface? Allow extra room in case they swerve to avoid potholes. What does this sign tell you? And it's the red triangle sign with a bicycle inside, meaning cycle route ahead. You're approaching this roundabout and see the cyclist signal right. Why is the cyclist keeping to the left? And it's just a basic photograph of a basic small roundabout. The cyclist is slower and more vulnerable. What should you do when approaching this crossing? And it's a basic zebra crossing with pedestrians waiting, and it's the same as we've seen in other sections. Prepare to slow down and stop. You see a pedestrian with a dog wearing a yellow or burgundy coat. What does this indicate? The pedestrian is deaf, who may use token crossings, cyclists and pedestrians. Some junctions controlled by traffic lights have a marked area between two stop lines. What's this for? To allow cyclists to position in front of other traffic. When you're overtaking a cyclist, you should leave as much room as you would give to a car. What's the main reason for this? The cyclist might swerve. What should you do when passing sheep on a road? Go very slowly. At night, you see a pedestrian wearing reflective clothing and carrying a bright red light. What does this mean? You're approaching an organised walk. You've just passed your test. How can you reduce your risk of being involved in a collision? By taking further training. You want to reverse into a side road, but you aren't sure what the area behind your car, is clear. What should you do? Get out and check. You're about to reverse into a side road. A pedestrian is waiting to cross behind you. What should you do? Give way to the pedestrian, who's especially in danger of not being seen as you reverse your car. Children. You want to turn right from a junction, but your view is restricted by parked vehicles. What should you do? Stop, then move forward slowly until you have a clear view. You're at the front of a queue of traffic waiting to turn right into a side road. Why is it important to check your right mirror just before turning? To check for overtaking vehicles. What must a driver do at a Pelican Crossing when the amber light is flashing? Give way to any pedestrians on the crossing. You've stopped at a Pelican Crossing. A disabled person is crossing slowly in front of you when the lights change to green. What should you do? Wait for them to finish crossing. You're driving past a line of parked cars. You notice a ball bouncing out into the road ahead. What should you do? Slow down and be prepared to stop for children. You want to turn right from a main road into a side road. What should you do just before turning? Check for traffic overtaking on your right. You're driving in a slow-moving queue of traffic. Just before changing lane, what should you do? Look for motorcyclists filtering through the traffic. You're driving in town. There's a bus at the bus stop on the other side of the road. Why should you be careful? Pedestrians might come from behind the bus. How should you overtake horse riders? Drive slowly and leave plenty of room. Why should you allow extra room when overtaking a motorcyclist on a windy day? The rider may be blown across in front of you. You're driving past parked cars. You notice a bicycle wheel sticking out between them. What should you do? Slow down and be prepared to stop for a cyclist. The road outside this school is marked with yellow zigzag lines. What do these lines mean? And obviously they're yellow zigzag lines. You mustn't wait or park your vehicle here at all. Where should you take particular care to look for motorcyclists and cyclists? At junctions. You're dazzled at night by a vehicle behind you. What should you do? Set your mirror to the anti-dazzle position. You're driving towards a zebra crossing. A person in a wheelchair is waiting to cross. What should you do? Be prepared to stop. Now the case study. You're driving behind a cyclist. The road has potholes and cracks. Further ahead there's a roundabout. A horse rider is approaching it in the left-hand lane. In a built-up area with street lights, you see a school sign with a flashing amber signal. There are no speed limit signs. Later, you stop at a pedestrian crossing where the lights are red. The person crossing carries a red banded white stick and has a guide dog wearing a red and white checked harness. What might the cyclist need to do on this road surface? The answer is swerve. What should you expect the horse rider to do next? Go in any direction. What does this flashing amber signal mean? Children may be crossing the road. What would the speed limit be in the built-up area? 30 miles per hour. What can you tell about the person at the pedestrian crossing? They're deaf and blind. And so ends that section.